Very Stonesy today. I'm in the key of D, and I'm kind of anchored up here on the 10th fret with my index finger, the low E string. And then I do this 5th here with my 3rd finger on the 12th fret, 5th string. And it's this rock and roll thing. And there's a mute happening, and it's with my left hand. I lift up the fingers, and I choke out that first kind of note with just by lifting up the fingers on the left hand a little bit so they're resting on the strings. And then check out the right hand for the strum. But that just happens once, and I'm taking my little finger up to the 14th fret on the 5th string. And I actually have to lean forward to do this. For me, it's quite a stretch. So if it's a stretch for you, just know that that's normal. It's a stretch for me, and I've been doing this a long time. I even have to lean forward to actually make it happen. I don't know how the guys do it when they wear the guitars down at their knees, but... okay, so we're going to do that once. And then we simply slide it down 2 frets and do it again on the C. Don't want to lean forward too far, or else you're not going to be able to see, you know, so, okay. And then I drop down to the G, and that requires a real stretch. My little finger actually hurts while I do this. Come back up to the D. I'm going to do it in sequence really kind of slow. And then we start again. So it's 2 cycles around. Do it slow again. And there's another mute at the end of the phrase. Check it out. See how my hand lifts up and I mute the strings? And then the aim down here is pretty easy because you're just trying to go after the 2 low strings. And because the hand is actually blocking all the other strings, you can kind of thrash it a little bit because it doesn't matter if you hit some of the extra strings because this hand is protecting you by muting everything. But still, you want to try and aim for the 2 low strings. But if you hit some of this by accident, it kind of adds to the vibe of it. It's a good thing. So we go through this cycle twice. Here we go. Then I move down to the C and I play a full C chord, all 6 strings. Try and do that a little better. Maybe the 3rd finger. You can do it with the little finger, but the 3rd finger is maybe more rock. And what this is I'm playing a C chord here on the, let's see, 8th fret. Probably seen this one before. And then I take away the little finger. So it kind of becomes a C7, but this actually might be muted, so you're not even really hearing the 4th string. It's legal no matter how you do it, really, I think. And I'm going from C to F in kind of a rock way, and I'm keeping the C shape, but I just pick up an F chord by laying down my 3rd finger across strings 2, 3, and 4. It's a pretty standard rock, kind of Keith Richards-y kind of thing. Drop down to the G, and then I come back up to D, and I do this really cool figure. That's cool to me. And what this is you're playing a G, once again, just using the strings 2, 3, and 4 at fret 12. 3rd finger laid across like this. And you do that blues hammer on. We're saying on strings 2, 3, and 4, but this time on fret 10 with the index finger laid across here. And then the 2nd finger just does a hammer on the 3rd string, up 1 fret. So that's that figure. And my aim with my right hand is just these 3 strings, strings 2, 3, and 4. Here's my favorite part of it. You got to jump your hand over here. Whoops. And what this is I'm bringing my index finger over to the 12th fret and laying it across strings 4 and 5. And then I do another kind of blues hammer on. I'm picking both the notes though, and it's the minor to major thing. Same kind of philosophy here, but way down here low on these low strings. So the way this begins is you want to lay your index finger on the 12th fret, strings 4 and 5, so you're in position. But the first thing that you play is on string 6, fret 13. You just go up a half step from minor to major in the key of D. And then strike those two again. And what happens here, it repeats. Let's move on to part B. All I do is I drop down and I play a full C chord here on fret 8, my index finger across. You've seen this guy before. He's the E chord brought way up here. And we're playing this full C chord, and we kind of make it an F to C kind of pattern by holding our position, but then we just take our third finger and bar it across strings 2, 3, and 4 to create our F chord. And I think I'm going to do it with my little finger today, just because it seems to make a smoother sound. Let me do it a little slower. And I'm hitting a little bit of an errant string down here. It kind of doesn't matter as long as you're accurate enough. That was better, where I aimed for the low strings on the C chord, and on the F chord I aimed for strings 2, 3, and 4. That's a better way to do it. Yeah, that sounds right to me. And then I drop this down to G, and then I return back up to. Start the cycle again, down to C, down to G, go up to A and start pounding. C, we use a C as kind of a bridge back to the restart. So let me do the B section again. 2, 3. C, back to the top. One more. So those are the two rhythm parts.
You got some lead in there?
Now on to the lead. Okay, so this is, this is Chuck Berry, but it's also Keith Richards, and I think they got in a fight on TV at one point, so you can check that out. But it's very Chuck Berry, but also very Keith Richards. So we start in the key of D, and we're anchored in the same place, but I just put my index finger across the top 2 strings and bar them. And this is a very Chuck Berry thing. So here it is on fret 10, and then I take finger 3, fret 12 on strings 2 and 3. Another double stop, and then we do the blues hammer, and then we land definitively on a D note, 12th fret, 4th string to finish that. So it's double stops, right? Then we simply drop it down to C, drop it down to G. And then I come up and do something different because I don't want to do the same thing forever. I come back up to where I was, kind of do a higher thing. This is cool because it's a minor kind of sound over a major chord, and so it creates that, which is a lovely sound. So this riff, when we return, is third finger, 13th fret, top 2 strings, and just drop it down. And I think I strike. Just drop it down with the left hand and then strike again. And then we end it the same way. We've already done that before, but we we do it again. We do that whole series. 2, 3, 4, 1. And I do my favorite thing where I thump across all the strings. This hand, I talk about this a lot, is always muting. So I can thump because you don't hear anything but, and with a cranked up amp, that's a really satisfying sound. Something I do all the time. Even a lot of times when I'm playing one note, I do it. Just love the way that sounds. Now we're going to move on to part B of this. We've come back and played this again. And we move on to the lead part that goes over, right? That goes over that. So what it is, to start with, is I take my index finger, string 4, fret 10, and I do this kind of major. Now you can see it's the same thing on two different sets of strings. So let's start it. Let those two notes ring together. So starting with my index finger, then I take my third finger on fret 12 and bring it up to fret 14, and then plant the index finger down on fret 12, string 3, and let those two notes ring together. And I do a slide up too, and slide back down. Do the same exact thing on the next two strings over. And then I drop down to a D note. One more time, slowly. And that's maybe more of a Beatle-y thing. You know, there was a solo on Let It Be, I think, that had these kind of moves, and I use them a lot when I play over major chords. So that's over the C chord. There's a C triad there, C note here, so you can see kind of the zone you're in. And then it goes to G. I'm doing it here. G chord right here. Just kind of visualize that for you. We drop back down to D, and this is kind of my favorite part of it. When it lands on the D, this is a very Keith Richards thing, I think. Although he might have been doing it in an open tuning, he probably was. So what it is I'm doing kind of a G to D7 thing here. I bar across these three strings, and then I do the blues hammer right here. But I do it with three notes being played at the same time. So it's kind of a D minor to D7, D minor to D major. Okay, that's the move there. And then I jump way over here with my index finger on strings 4 and 5, fret 12. I play this double stop, these two notes, and then I do the minor to major thing on the low E string, fret 13 and 14. And that's kind of one of my favorite parts of this whole thing. Oh yeah, and I walk down to D. I love it. It's a bit of a jump, and it might take you a while to get it, to get that jump smooth. See how quick that jump is, where you change your finger position pretty quickly. If you can't do it, just slow it down. I'll do it real slow. And then you come back and repeat. It's exactly what we did before, but then I land on an A note, and I walk up with the kind of Motown, Steve Cropper, sixth thing, walking up an A scale. So what I did was I landed with my third finger on an A note here on the 12th fret, 5th string. I hit that, and I'm doing this walk up. And what it is take your second finger, 4th string, let's see, 11th fret, and then your index finger, 2nd string, 10th fret, and that's where we start. That's basically the 3rd and the 1 of an A chord. So we started here with this A note, and then we play the 3rd and the 1 of the A chord, and then we walk up to a G, and then back up to an A. And these are double stops that are basically the building blocks of an A chord, a G chord, and another A chord. So the top melody is that, and then the bottom melody is. So if you haven't done much harmony, this is a good kind of lesson in harmony. The rhythm has been sitting on an A chord. Right? Remember I asked you to pound an A chord down there and what the lead is doing. And since the rhythm is about to go up and do a C chord, getting us back to the top, I have to do the same thing up here. And all I do is walk from C up to D, way up here on the neck. I think it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 to 19, but I'd stop counting up there. Just look at the dots. And then I land on this high D. And then I basically finish out just kind of soloing the way I like to. I won't be too specific in teaching this, but it's basically I'm in D minor. Even though the chords are major, it sounds tougher to me to play in minor. So we'll just say the chords are going underneath, and I'm playing in D pentatonic minor. One of the things I will talk about is that I do use this double stop here. One of my favorite things to do is to pull up this double stop where I take my third finger on strings 2 and 3, fret 12, and do the same thing on fret 10. I love pulling those strings. And then typically I'll walk down with a slide like this. If I'm based here on fret 10 in D minor pentatonic, and I want to change positions, I often take my third finger and just do this slide down. And then I'm in the new position, I can play here. There it was. We did it. It's done. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.